Hello friends, welcome to Civilspedia. In this edition, we are going to see the current affairs related to 6th August 2018. So we have two set of topics. One is a prelims topic and another is a learning topic. In prelims topic, we will be seeing about Article 35A and the strategic investment fund under the NIAF, and as well as the learning topic, we see Bharatmala Pariyojana as well as the India Central Asia relations. All right. So coming to the first topic of the day, it is about Article 35A. So why this is in news today? It was in news because the petitions challenging about the constitutionality of Article 35A, the Supreme Court said that it deferred the hearing to August 27, and because this case is it was already it was pending for a long time, almost for more than 6 months actually. So lastly, the Supreme Court said like the hearing will be on August 6th today, but again now because of the timing which is seeked by center and the Jammu and Kashmir government, it has been adjourned again because of the panchayat election process which has to be done actually. So now let us see why this is in news actually. So here the case is that like what exactly is 35A actually. So 35A, as you already know, it is it was added not just through the amendment as one expect under the Constitution of India, it was added through a presidential order actually. So this is exactly what it is in the presidential notification. So it speaks about the permanent residents and their rights actually. So here it is a specific thing. So as you already know, there is a specific article related to Jammu and Kashmir, that is a temporary provision under Article 370. But apart from that, there is a specific article, which this is article that is Article 35A, which speaks about rights of those permanently settled in the Jammu and Kashmir. Okay, so they have some specific rights related to employment, about immovable property, about the settlement and scholarships and all. Like, let us see what exactly it is actually. So it basically, this Article 35, it basically provides or kind of obstructs non-permanent residents to be devoid of some rights. Okay, so a non-permanent resident of Jammu and Kashmir is restricted from getting a job, acquiring any immovable property, or else he cannot permanently settle down or get the scholarship or some finance or aids from the state government if at all it's provide, as well as the voting. So even voting in state elections is prohibited for a non-permanent resident, and but they can vote for a national elections, that is for the Lok Sabha elections actually. So there is a classification between who is a permanent as who is a non-permanent resident and their rights actually. So here is this case. So this kind of classification, they say it is violates, it forbids Article 14 of the Constitution of India, which speaks about right to equality. And moreover, it is not just specific to equality with respect to who is a permanent as well as non-permanent resident of Jammu and Kashmir, and it is also discriminates women. All right. So how it discriminates women in the sense, like if at all, for instance, like if a woman who is a permanent resident of Jammu and Kashmir, she marries someone outside who's a non-resident of Jammu and Kashmir, she doesn't have these rights. So those rights are taken away. But on the other hand, if a man who's a permanent citizen, like a permanent resident from the Jammu and Kashmir, who he marries a girl outside Jammu and Kashmir, irrespective of the residential status of that, but he can have these rights. So it's kind of discriminating between the men versus women within Jammu and Kashmir. So this is one of the point of contention has been mentioned under that. So as I already said, like it is violation of fundamental right of equality under Article 14, and as well as the other major contention is that like when it was added, as I already said, like this was not added through a proper constitutional amendment under the parliament actually. So there wasn't any discussion, deliberation under the parliament. So it was added through a notification. So it was the then President Mr. Rajendra Prasad, on the advice of the then PM Jawaharlal Nehru, they issued this constitutional application to Jammu and Kashmir Order of 1954 under Article 370. All right. So this did not go a normal process. Normally, an amendment made under 368. As you already know that an amendment to the Constitution has to be made either under Article 368 or with the consent provisions. So here it is a case wherein this constitutional thing hasn't been followed, and this is done through a presidential order of 1954. So that is a point of contention. And these two things, even though it was like already kind of indirectly settled in the case of some Sawhney's case in Jammu and Kashmir High Court, but this has been a long pending issue with respect to Supreme Court. Now the Supreme Court, it is hearing under a 3-judge bench whether there should be a higher bench to look after the constitutionality. So it will be decided on 27th August that whether there is a need for a constitutional bench to look after the constitutionality of this Article 35A. So we'll watch out till August 27. Next comes about strategic investment fund. Okay, the strategic investment fund is news because of this news articles in PAB and all. Okay, so what this is one of the 3 funds under the National Investment and Infrastructure Fund, which was announced in the budget of 2015 by the then finance minister. All right, so this is kind of a fund which has been like, as I already said, like under this National Investment and Infrastructure Fund, specifically related to infrastructure. So it is one of the fund. Apart from that, like you have master fund, as well as fund of funds actually. So this is first, second, and this is the third kind of fund under this National Investment and Infrastructure Fund. So what are the things you got to know from the Prelims perspective, in the sense like you got to know how this is again kind of an equity participation model, wherein both the government as well as the strategic partners, which may be overseas sovereign, quasi-sovereign, multilateral investors from the private. Okay, so they also come in and then they'll pool money here actually. So government will have a maximum stake of 49%, and the rest has 51%, the other strategic partners. So this money will be put upon, like, again reinvested in any of those infrastructure developmental projects and all. Okay, so this is, as I already said, like it is a kind of a master fund under which this is kind of a strategic investment is required. Okay, so whenever I mean strategic investment fund, what you got to focus on in the sense, it is to, the basic objective is to invest largely in the equity and equity linked instruments. Again, indirectly, what is the equity linked instruments, in the sense like wherein the one who is borrowing the money, he has to bear, I mean, if it is he is making profit, he has to give it, and if it is making loss, like he has to bear it actually. So that is called as an equity model and debt instruments. Okay, so you know, go to know the difference between equity and debt actually. So here the focus is on greenfield as well as brownfield actually. So when it is speaking about greenfield, in the sense wherein the investment has been a new sector which is completely new, done for the first time, and it is in brownfield, is already existing one. Okay, so but this greenfield and brownfield investments, especially in the core infrastructure sectors, especially something like we can say about railways, or in the highways and all right. So these are the factors which you got to focus on, right? Next, coming to the Bharatmala Pariyojana. Okay, so this Bharatmala Pariyojana, it's about like this relevance. Like again, recently some fund were allocated, and then like there was a discussion in the Lok Sabha also about this actually. Okay, so what you got to focus from this is majorly from the mains perspective also. So this Pariyojana, it comes under the Ministry of Road, Shipping and Transport. These are the basic significance or salient features of this Bharatmala Pariyojana. One is about national corridors, economic corridors, inter-corridors and feeder routes, and it's about coastal and port connectivity and border roads and expressways. It speaks about a lot of things actually. We'll see what is one by one. So first, about this national corridors efficiency improvement, like okay, so first is about lane expansion and the decongestion of existing national corridors. So we already have 2 things. One is about the Golden Quadrilateral, so which is connecting all the 4 major cities from Delhi, Bombay, Chennai and Calcutta, and the north, south and east, west corridors actually, ranging from this east to west as well as north to south, so covering the entire thing actually. So in order to decongest the existing national corridors, there is a need to lane expansion. So that is one of the component of Bharatmala Pariyojana. Second thing is about economic corridor development. Okay, so all along it's not just about lane expansion alone. All right, so finding out like economically important production centers and consumption centers, like for instance, like connecting it not just the major things like Chennai to Bangalore, like even much beyond that also. Okay, so having an economic corridors on basis of that, like so 44 such corridors are identified all throughout the country, on the base of which like this component has been added. Okay, and third is about the inter-corridor and feeder route development. So whenever we know what is feeder routes, okay, we have heard about like feeder bus services. So from the major centers, there is again to the dependent smaller routes, you have this feeder services, right? So this is exactly the same thing, where you have interconnection between the different economic corridors. So if the 2 economic corridors, for instance, like if that is from Bangalore to Chennai to Bangalore and from Chennai to Hyderabad, like, so in order to connect the in between things, okay, or else to go from this one, so there is this interconnection of different economic corridors, wherein there is a development of first mile, last mile connectivity, so as to take the products. Okay, this is all about economic development, right? So so to easy facilitation of movement of goods, right? So as to connect all those points so that like it is easy for the goods to be sold at the easiest manner. So this is what is all about. This is the third component, intercorridor and as well as feed route development. Okay, next is about coastal and port connectivity roads. So as you already know that most of the export import happens facilitates it is through the ports actually. So it is need to have a coastal area as well as the port led. Okay, so it not just about the goods actually, even the service sector like tourism also, that is a component actually. So even the tourism, it will help in enhancing the numbers with respect to employment, all those things. All right, and next is about the border and international connectivity roads. So whenever we speak about border and international connectivity roads, like even though we have borders of like India, in the subcontinent, India is a country which locks actually. So for instance, Nepal is, they say rather than landlocked, it is India locked actually. It is Nepal, Bhutan, and these two countries are landlocked, and these other two countries which India shares a border. Okay, so now when you have a connectivity till that border time, like it is very easy to transmit goods and all. Okay, so again, this is another component. Again, this is done with the help of like border road development organizations and all those things. Fine. Last is about the expressways. So expressways, they specifically speak about greenfield expressways, wherein like the high density stretches are chosen, and then like specifically, for instance, there is one thing right now in happening in Tamil Nadu. There is a few things open in Uttar Pradesh and all right. So now these expressways are again to not just to decongest also, but access an economic order also. These all act hand in hand actually. So these are the salient features of this Bharatmala Pariyojana. So what exactly these all does: intercorridor, feeders, economic corridors, expansion of lanes, border road developments, coastal. So what exactly all these things do? One is about job creation. Fine. So again, it creates a lot of job right from the building, like building the infrastructure, and thereafter also. All right, it creates a lot of millions of direct as well as indirect employments. And second, it curbs terrorist activities, because like more kind of a proper monitoring can be done, proper movement can be done and all. Okay, so that it indirectly does, and it promotes trade and tourism as such actually. Fine, because most of them like today is trade, it happens in tourism, it happens through road actually, road infrastructure. All right, so when that is made easily, when it is made faster, easier, all right, so that will enhance the trade from say 40 to 70%, which is again considerable. When there is a considerable savings in time, savings in fuel, so that can happen. And lastly, about supply chain. Okay, so this is, we can speak about agriculture. All right, so when there is like some perishable products, now when you have the proper infrastructure to transport it easily in a faster manner, now even the perishable products, they can fetch high rates, and then like they can be stored in a proper manner, and then like it can be easily reached to the consumer as well. All right, so that supply chain management also can be enhanced. And lastly, about the pedestrian safety and accidents also, it will like save a lot of money indirectly also, not just lives, even money also. Okay, so this can be other factors, benefits. Coming to the challenges, what are the major challenges in Bharatmala project? This is first about land acquisition, because it involves just expansion and then new projects also, greenfield projects also. So it requires more land acquisition, that itself troublesome. It has opposition, it has faced opposition, especially from the rural segment actually. Next is about the funding. Okay, the funding mechanism, again, it depends on a lot of mechanism, but most of them it comes as a from the PPP, from the public private partnership, as well as from the in the form of bonds actually. So when that if it is formed in a debt instrument like bonds and all, so there is a kind of a pressure on the government so as to repay in time and all. So that is another factor. And again, about environmental clearances, since it passes through the coastal regions and the border roads again, which is near to the forest, or because we have across the borders we have the forest and all. So most of the times, like when we speak about intercorridors and all those things and all, environmental clearance becomes a major problem. Okay, and speaking about the delays, this is a very common thing with respect to every project we face. Delay is one thing, like normally not just with Bharatmala Pariyojana, but with most of the infrastructure projects, because of these three things, not in time, we are not getting fund on time, not the land acquisition is not in time. So because of that, there is a delay in the project as well. So these are the challenges which has to be overcome. All right, fine. Next, coming to the India Central Asia relationships. Okay, this is something like so this our external minister has gone for a three nation visit to Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and Uzbekistan actually. So now you got to know, first of all, whenever such international relations come, you got to first focus both from prelims as well as from the mains perspective. In the prelims perspective, you got to know about about the geographical units as such. Okay, what are the countries, and especially the bordering countries. For instance, here it is bordering Caspian Sea, is bordering with Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, but not with Uzbek. So you got to make a note of these things actually. And again, the capitals also, where this capital from the north to south maybe. So from Astana, so here the Astana is the capital of Kazakhstan, and Bishkek is the capital of Kyrgyzstan, and Tashkent is the capital of Uzbekistan. And now, when we go about the relations, so we got to know about the relations of one country. For instance, if we speak about all the countries in general, the first thing we got to keep in mind about the security. Okay, so all these countries, I mean, especially energy security. So all these countries are rich in energy, especially oil and gas reserves. All right, and in addition to that, like a country like Kazakhstan, which is again like known for its uranium. All right, so this you should keep in mind this because Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan, they have uranium reserves. Like again, because India being an a country which has to in future depend a lot on nuclear power. These are the countries they may help giving us when with respect to uranium. As I already said, like we have a security aspect. I mean, energy security also, and more than that, about the Afghanistan. So we know that these countries have a link. See, even though as of the three countries they have visited, like Uzbekistan is the only one which is related, which has a direct link with Afghanistan. So the stability of Afghanistan, it is like very much required for these countries to be function properly, because all these countries have a kind of political instability. You know, these all countries, they have historically, they became independent from the USSR, the ones USSR. All right, even though they did not they were given independence, they did not fight for independence, they were given independence actually. And these countries, what you got to have in mind in the sense, like if at all this Afghanistan is maybe it is taken away by Taliban or has some sort of a security issues, it may destabilize the already troubled these areas of Kazakhstan. Okay, and another thing which you got to know in the sense, like India already it's planned a Tapi pipeline and all, but it not as of now fully materialized. So that's the reason why we are going via Iran, and then Iran to Afghanistan, and then to reach the Central Asian countries. All right. So you got to know about the role of India as well as from China perspective. So if you look into the historical perspective of relations between India and the Central Asian countries, like historically we had a very good relations. Even you remember, like we had Tashkent agreement with respect to India-Pakistan war and all. So Tashkent is a place where our own Lal Bahadur Shastri was he died there actually. So and here it is a place. Kazakhstan is a major player here, because out of all these Central Asian countries, from Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, it is the country which India has the maximum trade actually. It is the largest in this area. It is the largest country actually. And one more thing which you got to know in the sense, apart from the security issues or persisting over there, the other major threat is about China. See, China has all those border links with Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan as well actually. So this almost running around some 2,000 kilometers. Fine. So since these countries are landlocked, they need to have some sort of an opening to them, to come out of to export or import, all those things. So even though we had very older traditional routes, see, this was a route known for Silk Route, right? This route, it was the older Silk Route which we had used it till the 15th century, because post 15th century, once European powers, they started sea routes and all, it not was of not much of greater importance. But till the time of 15th century, till the advent of Europeans along the sea routes, this was a major trade route actually. So since that time, we had a kind of an a link, kind of an cultural economic ties as well. And even after the independence also, Prime Minister Nehru had a very good relation. Like even the soft power, like we are using the soft power, meaning like our Bollywood movies are so famous over there, like so we have have a kind of a good relation, at least in those terms, cultural terms also. It is very easy to mingle with these people actually, because of the kind of influence we have through the Bollywood movies and all right. So, and one more thing you got to have in mind in this, about, like I said about China, right? So because these countries are landlocked, when we have a kind of good control, good relationship with Iran and Afghanistan, if Afghanistan is stable and Iran is supported to us, like they can, with the help of like oils, we can take it, oils or the other uranium, whatever the materials which is required, from the security perspective, from the trade perspective, we can take it through these things and then bring it to India also. And with respect to export also, India exports a lot of tea, pharmaceuticals, because Indian pharmaceutical industries are not just they are exporting, they have made this textile industries and pharmaceutical industries, they are well established there. See, for instance, like these countries have a lot of wool actually, so these things can be like by having the technology in the form of textile industries, they can take the raw materials and then they can make some value additions and then they can sell it actually. So in all the ways, like so if everything is stable, they have a, and then like we can speak about international north-south corridor, and wherein like to connect the other part of Europe actually. And also we have something in common about the membership in SCO, all right, and membership in Eurasian Economic Union. So these are the organizations wherein like we kind of share it with these three specific countries. And with respect to the agreements, okay, just note down the agreements which is being like made out related to security or defense or space or whatever it is, okay, that can be helpful in writing in the mains actually. Again, about the problems, the only major problem in the sense like about the stability, political stability, and apart from that, like about the China's influence, okay, China is kind of making a kind of debt trap all throughout the world actually. And one thing, it can make it in these countries also, to make ever dependable, make these countries ever dependable on China by giving kind of loan. So India should leverage it's not just its money, its soft power and all those things, so as to make a good relationship irrespective of the stability in that region. And for that, like it needs to have a good relation with Iran and Afghanistan as well, so as to utilize those resources which are available in those countries. Okay, so that's it for the day, guys. If you have any doubts, please write on the comments. Thank you.